In response to North Korean troops potentially going to Ukraine, the Biden administration is considering sending some additional forces of their own. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this was a really interesting story that Biden may actually be letting U.S. defense contractors deploy to Ukraine. But the report says it's not going to be like Iraq and Afghanistan. Sure, buddy. Overall, this story is coming to us from CNN. They're reporting that Biden is considering allowing U.S. private military contractors to go into Ukraine. Sources told the outlet that they would be restricted, though, to just helping maintain U.S. supplied equipment. The reason is simple, that right now, Ukrainian maintainers have to maintain this equipment if they are not, if they are in country, right? The only way to get U.S. Trained contractors to fix this gear is for them to get Ukrainians to get the gear to the border and over the border into Poland, right? Now, this sort of this article right up annoys me because it says the move would cross a long-held red line for Biden, who has been wary of taking action, so it would put American troops in the firing line. American contractors are not troops. That's the point of contractors. They are not U.S. service members, right? But these plans also would require contractors to develop really strong risk mitigation policies. And that number is not going to be a lot. It's going to be a few dozen up to around 200. So these would be very high-level contractors capable of fixing problems that are too complex, or more likely, they would be like train the trainers or expert consultants for Ukrainian contractors. So these 200 guys, I hypothesize, would have their own Ukrainian translators. And when Ukrainian senior maintainers would encounter an issue that they just couldn't solve, they would call one of these 200 contractors and say, yo, what's going on here? Can you come out and take a look at this? As of right now, U.S. maintenance report literally is conducted via video calls and chat lines, where they said actually some seriously damaged equipment, right, that actually the contractors would report that they would get literally phone calls of troops in contact who are like, yo, we're taking fire and my howitzer isn't working. This extractor issue is what we're having. Can you help me? And they would try, over the phone, try to walk them through the issue, which is just not the same thing as being able to go hands-on. If you're interested in seeing some of the footage of this fighting, and you want to support the channel, because you guys know that basically anything with combat footage gets demonetized here, you want to become a member of combatvetnews.com. We just refreshed the site entirely, so you can see here it's got all of the YouTube videos on there, but if you want to support the channel, you can become a member, and any one of these tiers is going to get you access to the members-only video section. That's twice a week videos with uncensored combat footage where we do the deep dive analysis. But if you want the weekly Q&As that we're going to be dropping, you can get Lieutenant and Colonel tier, and those also get the shout-outs. And finally, the Colonel tiers, you guys get the golden recognition at the end of every video. So support the channel, man. We really, really appreciate it. We've got the discounts right now since we just kind of rolled out the site revision. So please become a member, combatvetnews.com. Okay, I want to give you guys a little bit of a scale here of kind of, why they're talking about these private contractors in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the reason is because private contractors formed a dark army in Iraq and Afghanistan. The number of PMCs in Iraq alone, this is a shitty Google AI overview. There are not 160,000 contractors in Iraq. The peak of the Iraq war, AI is so stupid, right? The number of PMCs at the height of the Iraq war was over 160,000, which is about the total number of uniformed American forces. So there was a secret doubling of the total American contingent in Iraq using these contractors. And while some of these contractors were, so some of them were foreign nationals, right? But a lot of them were American. And the American contractors had a huge variety of roles. When I was in Afghanistan, for example, some contractors we worked with were specialty maintainers, just like what Ukraine is talking about getting, where when we said, damn, this really complex radio system is having an error that our radio guys can't maintain. Can you fly us down an expert? An expert would come with his big box of parts and he'd figure it out and he'd fix it on the site. And we'd be like, this is awesome. Same thing with vehicles or other highly technical pieces of equipment, right? They were just above the ability of our uniformed guys to maintain. But then you also had contractors who were literally doing combat operations, guys who had body armor and rifles and came out, and sometimes they would have a specialty role. Oftentimes they were designated as police trainers, which through a policy oversight, they assigned to us, but we were already trained military police. We didn't need much of their help. There was some things they were some of them were like specialty detectives, and we didn't have any of those guys who could like collect evidence and do forensics, and they were helpful, but the Afghans were still working on showing up to work and like using their weapon. So thinking that we were going to teach them how to collect fingerprints was preposterous. So again, they ended up becoming just kind of gun toters. A lot of them were security forces. We're literally like doing security jobs to free up U.S. troops to do more technical military roles. But a lot of contractors were doing very boring things. They were installing plumbing in U.S. military bases, fixing air conditioning units. They were turning wrenches on of vehicles, just doing everything to free up U.S. troops to do forward combat roles. And that's what the primary role of these contractors were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and primarily what they'll likely be in Ukraine. The idea would be to simply get as many contractors into the field, not into the fight, but doing roles to free up Ukrainians to fulfill the combat mission. Now, in Iraq and Afghanistan, you could see that actually contractors made up a significant portion of total deaths that were not counted in the conventional like popular totals, right? As of 2012, 1,500 contractors were killed in Iraq, right? And with an additional number being killed in Afghanistan. So while we act like this isn't that dangerous a job, it definitely is. So anyway, guys, that is all I had for you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Those things really help. And I will see you guys in the next one. And a huge thank you to all of these lieutenant and colonel tier members. Cheers.